Are there any new injuries that you're worried about ahead of Southampton?
No, nothing of major concern. We had a few niggles, as I said, after the Brighton game. We've had Matt Ritchie return to training, so that's a really good thing. But no major problems.
I wanted to ask you about Jacob Murphy, who has started the last 3 matches for you and had a major part to play in the first goal against Brighton at the weekend. What do you like about Murphy, and what has he given to the team?
Yeah, Murphy's is a very good player, physically excellent. I think you could see from that first goal that he created, the pace that he gives you on transitions. Reliable defensively, tactically very good. So there's a lot to like about him, and I think a lot to come as well. I think there's a lot more in there.
You've got a lot of players performing well. You've got plenty of competition for places throughout the squad. So given that you have 3 matches in a week, are we likely to see you use that squad and freshen things up because of the physical demands on the players?
Yeah, possibly. I think it's difficult to give you clarity at this moment in time for obvious reasons, but I think, possibly we will look to try and make the right decisions for the team in the next game. I think in our position now, I think with the run that we've been on, I said all through this run, I've been reluctant to change things dramatically because the team has lacked rhythm for a long time. So when you get rhythm, I think you want to try and enhance that, not disrupt it. So I've kept changes to a minimum. Doesn't mean I don't believe in the squad. I think that's the key thing. Doesn't mean I don't believe in the players that I'm not using. I believe in them, and I believe that they can all play a huge role in the future. But I've just got to deal with the here and now, and so that's what I've tried to do.
But what sort of message does it send out to players who've come in and done well, the likes of Emil Kraft, Dan Burn, with players like the captain Jamal Lascelles on the bench, that you will reward form and you'll stick with a winning side?
Yeah, I think that's a very important message, because I think if players come into the team and they think, well, if I perform, I'm going to come straight out again, there's almost no reward for that performance. So I think that is a key thing that I've wanted to try and create. I think what you don't want to do on the other side is pick the same team because you've won the game, but then tactically have a problem in the next game. So you've got to be very careful that you don't go blindly into the next match and then not perform because you haven't adapted. And it's funny, we've picked the same team, but we've adapted in every game because the challenges are so different. So tactically, the lads, I've got to say, have been very good to those subtle changes.
And lastly, you have a long and successful association with Bournemouth. You were also at Portsmouth as a player for a little while. What's the situation like for you going to Southampton, given the rivalries on the south coast?
Yeah, I've never looked at it actually, now you've put it that way, because my time at Portsmouth was obviously on the pitch was very brief, unfortunately for me. But no, I've always enjoyed going to Southampton. A really well-run club, I have to say. And although I haven't directly been associated with Southampton, with the club being so close, you sort of, visited the club many times and visited their centre of excellence when I was learning coaching and little things like that you remember. So I know how well run the club is from the bottom to the top, and I've got a lot of respect for the club.
Thank you. Peter.
Eddie, good morning.
Good morning.
Can I just ask you, you're on 28 points, you've 12 games to go. At what point do you think you'll be able to relax in terms of a points total?
When the last ball is kicked of the season, there's no time to relax, regardless of whatever our situation is externally. We want to win every game and give our best in every moment.
Looking at your final games, I'm talking about the last 3 or 4 games against opposition who will be after the title or for Champions League positions, and I'm guessing you won't want a final day scrap at Burnley. Do you want to get this points total up as quickly as possible? Is that the pressure to get safe as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I think there's a healthy pressure on us from me, ourselves, everybody connected with the team, that we want the points and we want them quick. And I think that's been the real feature of our recent games, is the lads haven't in any way dropped their focus on the back of good results. In fact, if anything, the focus has become more intense. So that's really pleased me. But we know you're in the Premier League, every fixture is difficult, but we've got a difficult end to the season, as you mentioned. So every game takes priority before that.
I'm guessing phase 1 of the process is to be safe and to guarantee another season in the Premier League, but I'm guessing the next phase is then another big summer window. Are you already in the planning stage with that? Lists drawn up, targets drawn up?
There's only one phase for me. If you're going to put it in phases, and it's phase 1. Phase 2 can wait. I've had put no energy towards that whatsoever. The future will take care of itself, but from my side, in terms of Premier League planning, that won't happen if we don't get the day-to-day running of the club right in terms of the training ground and the results. So everything's going into the intense spell of games we have at the moment.
But if you're going shopping, you can't leave it to the last minute, can you? You want to be pushing names forward.
No, but at the moment that's not my job to give energy to that. That's other people at the football club that will be spending time, quite rightly, in terms of recruitment. But my energy at the moment's in the team.
Rudiger's name's been mentioned in the last 24 hours. Are you a big admirer? I know he's at another club at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think it's the time to start commenting about other teams, other players. As I said, I have not given a recruitment 1 ounce of my energy or squad planning or anything like that, because we're focused on the games.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Andy. Eddie, I know you immediately look ahead to the next game after any given result, but on Saturday when you get home, given the form the team's in, given how happy the team look, be honest, how chuffed are you at that at the moment?
No, I'm very pleased, but I think when I got home, the first thing I wanted to do was watch the game back and find out why we weren't able to control more of the game, to find out why certain elements of our performance weren't quite where they needed to be. So I've always been that way. I really enjoy watching the good bits back, of course, and enjoyed certain elements of the performance. But you're always looking and picking holes to try and then go, right, that's what we need to do on the training ground. And that's the process I've always worked by. And I think it's a really healthy thing for me to do. It's maybe not so healthy for my my sleep, but I think it's important that you review it honestly.
Newcastle away for the next 3 or 4 games now, but just on Saturday, there was displays around 3 sides of St James's Park, courtesy of war flags. How impressed were you with that? Have you seen anything like that in your managerial career?
No, I haven't. I think it's totally unique to this club, and I think that's, again, part of the charm of the club. I mean, I got sent some videos of how the stadium looked, and because obviously I'm not there to enjoy that like everyone else is, and probably in that time of the build up to the game, I'm not there to enjoy it anyway. I'm very focused in the match and what I need to do and deliver. So to look back at it and see how good the stadium looked and the atmosphere, and it was just incredible, and the effort and the detail that War Flags and the people that are involved in that, can't thank them enough and can't praise them enough for the impact they have on match day.
Just on the pitch, how valuable a commodity is it that now you seemingly have a team that can win comfortably, like they won down at Brentford, but also win in a dogfight, like it was against Brighton on Saturday?
Yeah, you have to have the ability to adapt and to win in different ways, and I think the winning ugly side of things, I don't think necessarily has been something we've done very well historically. So I think that's great to see us adding layers to our game, and I think we've been a difficult team to play against in recent weeks, in a way that's really, really pleased me. So our midfield dynamic of energy and physicality, I think, has been a feature of that, and I want to maintain that and enhance that while adding maybe a bit more control, as I said, that we didn't have against Brighton. So I think there's always things we're looking at to improve, but I think you have to acknowledge the good, and the good has been a very, very good team mentality to defend our goal.
I'm not sure if you saw, but Jonjo Shelvey was on social media apologising for his performance on Saturday. Forgive me, this is going to sound really weird to ask this, but how pleased are you to see a player apologising for his performance? Is that the sort of standards that he's setting himself and you're setting the team here at Newcastle?
Yeah, so it's a strange one. I think from Jonjo, he obviously felt the need to do that, and I've got no problem with him expressing that in a good way, which I think he did. I think we set Jonjo sets very high standards for himself, and I think he's been maybe a little bit hard on himself there, which, again, I don't have an issue with. I think it wasn't probably the game that he wanted it to be and that we wanted it to be. The result was, but the manner of the performance, we then probably didn't see the best of Jonjo on the ball, which is probably his his hallmark and his best asset. So that's probably where he was going with it. But I like the accountability and responsibility, and it shows the leadership of Jonjo. You know, he's been our captain in recent weeks, and I think he's led the team very well.
And just on the team news, how fit is Alan St-Maximin right now?
Yeah, he's not 100% fit. He did 1 day's training. I think it was his first day's training in 3 weeks before the previous game. So we are very keen to obviously have him back and back at his best. And I think when he came on, he did well, and I thought he actually, a key moment in the game, gave us a bit of a lift. But we're trying to build up his fitness, so he's nearly there.
And just finally from me on Southampton, obviously they've turned St Mary's into a little bit of a fortress recently. How big an incentive is it for Newcastle to go there and do what not many sides have done this season and win, and go there and perform as well? Yeah,
I think we're looking for a performance and a result. I think they've done very, very well at home this season. Their home record is very strong. And that's for a reason. They've played a very high, intense game out of possession. They've got some really good patterns of movement in possession. I think they're a very dangerous team. Watching them in preparation for this game, look at their performances at Old Trafford, where I thought they were excellent. So they can do it in different ways, home and away, and yeah, I think we need to be at our very best to win.
Top man. Thanks, Eddie.
Alistair. Not much left to ask, but I just want to get your thoughts on Gordon Lee, who died the other day. I appreciate you're a bit young to remember when he was here at Newcastle, but I think you were an Everton fan growing up as well, so any thoughts on Gordon?
Yeah, very sad to hear of his passing, and yeah, as you say, I wasn't old enough to sort of have any recollections of him as a manager, but very saddened by his passing.
Okay. Any questions on the floor? Luke? What are you expecting to learn from your team in this next run? Because by your own admission, you said it's a tough run of games, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I think it's a tough examination of us tactically. So if you look at the teams we have to play, we're going to be examined in different ways. Obviously, I don't want to take our eye off the immediate challenge, which is Southampton. But you know, you've asked me a question about the group of games, and the teams we have will test us in that way. And I think our ability to deal with the games in quick succession, tactically adapt, I think they're probably the key things.
And you know, when you're having a good run, it's going well, what sort of different challenges is that bringing you as a manager in terms of, well, particularly the players who aren't in the team, because there's going to be some there who haven't played for quite some time, certainly haven't started for some time.
Yeah, you're right. I think it does. Winning gives you problems just as losing does. It's just disguised in a different way. So players that aren't playing, obviously frustrated that they're not playing, they want to play, they want to contribute. And that's why I said earlier, in no way is it a reflection on their abilities that haven't changed the team. It's more because of our season and how it's unfolded. I felt in a good moment not to rock that rhythm. It means that players are desperate to make an impact, and I hope that desperation and that keenness to impress comes across when they get their opportunity. I fully believe in the squad, but I think they've trained in the main. There's obviously been, every player has a few moments where their frustrations, I don't say evidently show, but you can sense there's a feeling of disappointment. I'm not going to lie and say there hasn't been that in isolated moments, but as a group, consistently, I think they've trained very well.
You think this period might give you, I know you don't want to talk about team, but this period, there are going to be changes, aren't there? Is that the message to the players that you might?
I'm not going to guarantee. I never promise a player that I will play them in certain games ahead, because you're then planning for something you don't know how the situation will be. When you come to game day, I'm not going to sit here and say we will 100% make changes in this game or that game. I'll have to assess it from what I've seen in the previous game and then try and make the right call for the next game. But it is an opportunity, I think, for players that haven't played to impress.
Thank you.
Chris and then Martin. Morning, Eddie. Sorry, this game was obviously meant to be played in December. It was postponed, and at the time, Ralph Hasenhüttl came out and said some things about transfer window and players who were signed in January shouldn't be able to play. What did you make of those comments at the time, and will that shape your potential team selection tomorrow night?
To be honest, I didn't really know that it made those comments, so I'm hearing them from you. We followed the protocols as every team did. It was unfortunate the game was called off. We wanted to play it. In terms of the signings, I think the rules are the same for everybody. So no team talk of mine will be based around that.
Martin.
You've got 3 away games in a week, Eddie. It's Southampton, Chelsea and Everton. I think the combined mileage for a supporter will be about 1,600 miles at a time when petrol prices are the highest ever. Should there have been a little bit more consideration from the Premier League for the fans as well as the players in the way the fixture list has been changed?
Yeah, that's a great point. We certainly didn't. We certainly didn't want this game. Ideally, from our situation, based or sandwiched in the games that we have because of the away game, the amount of away games we've got 4 in a row. I don't think that's great for us. I don't think it's great, as you say, for our supporters. And at a time, as you say, when the cost of travelling is spiralled out of, spiralled recently because of obvious reasons. The cost, even going to home games, the cost of being a football fan these days is can't be underestimated. It isn't underestimated from me and my team. And that's why we make a special note of trying to thank everybody that supports us home and away. And we know that support is greatly, or they need to know that support is greatly valued.
Is it testament to them that they've sold out for the 3 games, and is there sympathy for the travelling they're going to have to do?
Absolutely, and the support we've had home and away has been incredible. And again, it doesn't surprise me that it's sold out, but it's testament to the loyal fan base that we have. Their commitment to the team is unquestioned, and we can't thank them enough.
Damien and then Craig.
Eddie, you talked earlier about watching the game back and how it might not be good for your sleep. Are you the kind of manager that does lose sleep? Are you affected by the result, good or bad, when you get home?
No, I wasn't necessarily saying that my sleep was bad, just the time I went to sleep was bad. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
watching the game back from my perspective takes me a bit of time, so I had a late night Saturday night, but no, when I sleep very well.
And are you affected by, if you have a bad result or a bad performance, does it affect you at home, or are you able to put it to one side and just move on?
No, I live the results. Can't deny that, and that's probably something. And I've said historically, it's probably something I need to do better. I think my kids help me when I'm with them, because you can't help but switch off to their world when you're with them. So I think they help me. Going on a walk with my dog can help me. But I think the rest of the time I'm sort of living and thinking what I need to do for the team, what I need to do to find a solution to a problem, and I don't think that ever goes away.
Thank you, Craig.
Eddie, on the wider subject of players apologising for performances, it's become a little bit of a thing in recent years. What do you think of that? What do you feel about it?
If an individual feel he needs to do it, then I'm not going to stop them and change that, because I think that would be imposing my will on them. I don't think they necessarily need to do it. I don't think they need to feel that expectation. But I'm in a different place to them, and I have to understand that. I think their first accountability is to themselves, and then of course to their teammates and the coaching team. And my own personal opinion is you're probably better off keeping that internal. But if you feel the need to express that, I don't think I'm in a position to stop that or would want to stop that. But I think dealing with things internally is probably where I would have been as a player myself. But then I know times have changed, so you've got to move with the times.
So you never apologise for any of your performances?
Cool. I did internally. I was apologising to myself. It was a different era, Craig. I think when I was playing, there was you sort of didn't want to step out and actually admit blame, because there was quite a bit of blame being chucked around. So you're almost trying to avoid the blame. It was a totally different time, and that's why I say I need to put myself in their shoes, because it is a different time to play football. So I think it's a great time to be involved in football and to have a career. And social media has changed things a lot, I think, the landscape of a footballer's life. And I think I'm not on social media, so again, I'm not in part of that world, but I have to respect people that are.
Just lastly on Jonjo, we spoke to him on the table that happened, and he admitted he is among that group who are playing for the future. I think he's got 18 months left on his deal. Where is he in terms of that, his long-term future at the club, and how impressed have you been with him in the short term?
Yeah, he's been a really important part of our team. No denying that. He's an integral part in both phases. So he's the middle of the pitch. So defensively, he has to perform well. And I think when you look back to, I think his best performance for me, defensively, was the start of the run was the Leeds game, where I thought he put in a brilliant defensive, tactical understanding of his position, his role, and what he needed to deliver in that game, and I think it really helped the team. I don't ever worry about Jonjo on the ball or building possession, because I think that's his strength, but I think he's come a long way in terms of that defensive part. And in terms of his long-term future, I see him as a long-term part of my plans, but obviously he'll dictate that by how he performs.
Miles and then Lee Ryder.
Is Callum Wilson any further forward, and what kind of role is he able to play around the place as he works on his?
He's been away for a considerable part of his rehab. So at the moment he's in London, getting specialist treatment on his injury. Previous to that, he'd been away in Dubai again, getting specialist treatment for his injury. So we haven't seen a great amount of him around the training ground, but I don't think that's been a negative for me. I know he's away getting looked after, and it also helps him mentally, I think, the mental grind of when you're injured, and I've been there many times, of when you're coming into the same place to get the same treatment. It can have a negative effect on your psychology. So I think when he does come back, we see a bouncing Callum. He's very happy. He knows he's in a good place. He's improving. So I think what I'd love to see is him come back and be like a new signing for us for our final few games.
Yeah, just one on Chris Wood. Obviously hasn't scored yet. Still making contributions at a big part of the goal of the day. But when does it get to the stage in your thought process that you might change your front man?
No, I wouldn't be changing Chris at all. I think he's been outstanding since he's arrived. And I think he does a lot of the things that people necessarily wouldn't evidently see that has had a dramatic effect on the team. So he's given us an ability to retain the ball from loads of different situations, whether it's a goal kick, free kick, longer ball. He's brought other people into play in a subtle way. His tactical understanding, I know I say this about a few players, but his tactical delivery of our out-of-possession game plans have been of the highest level. And for someone who's 6'3", 6'4", that's not necessarily evidently seen, I don't think. Yes, he hasn't scored, but the team's performed. So I don't care. You could have someone that's playing up front and can't score, but he's assisting and helping other players, then he's doing his job for the team. And that's what Chris has done. I can't speak highly enough of him, and I've got no thoughts of taking him out of the team at all.
Kieran and then Oscar.
Hi, Eddie. Matt Target coming up against one of his old clubs tomorrow. I appreciate you can't answer much on this, but how much would you love him to be part of your long-term plans?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I sort of won't answer that, but I will say how well I think he's done. Very consistent, fitted in really well on and off the pitch. Very intelligent player. With and without the ball, I think he's been excellent. So very happy with him.
Can I ask you about Jamal Lewis? Obviously it must have been really tough for him mentally these past few weeks. Have you been keen to kind of keep his spirits up as well? It must be a strength for you.
Well, I said when I left Jamal out of the 25-man squad, he's had injury problems. So at the moment he's in Germany getting assessed and looked at by a groin specialist. He's had this groin problem now for, I think, over a year, and we haven't quite fixed it for him. So he has trained with us, but now he's going through a spell where he probably won't, and he might well be operated on in the next few days. So he's been excellent. I say when he's been around the building, he's been very good, as is Kieran Clark. Those players who haven't been involved in the 25-man squad have been very professional.
Oscar and John.
Eddie, just back to Jonjo. Has he actually, talking about keeping it internally in the past, has he actually apologised to you for the performance? And you've watched the game back. Were you pleased with his performance in hindsight?
We've had a discussion, but I won't never tell you what two people discuss. I don't think that's right. I think that has to remain between me and Jonjo. But we talk after every game. I'll always review the game with the players, and we'll discuss certain things. And I think with any performance, there was good bits and bad bits, and my job is to try and improve with the player, improve the bad and the areas that he can improve, and then consolidate on the good, because there was a lot of good from Jonjo on Saturday. Even if he didn't necessarily feel that at the time, there was a lot of good in there too.
Federico Fernandez wasn't in the squad on Saturday, and there's coach pictures, training pictures. He hasn't been pitch element. Is there an issue with him at all?
Yeah, so Feddy picked up a very slight side strain. I won't go too technical because I actually don't know what the word is, but the side strain will do. Which we don't think serious, so we'll keep him out for, say, a week to 10 days.
Any further questions? Can I ask a difficult one?
No.
That just picking up on Chris's point about Southampton, there wasn't quite a stink about it at the time, and there was a suggestion that you shouldn't be allowed to play your new signings in the reverse fixture. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
Well, obviously someone thinks so because we're allowed to. So, you know, we just follow the protocols that we've been set, and we're delighted to play our new players. They've done very well for us, and they've made a difference. It's a difficult. I didn't see the comments, so I try and.
They were a bit upset.
Okay, well, you know, I understand that, but you know, we're just following what we're told to do.
Thank you.
Can I just quickly check, are you flying back and forward for this, or are you staying down?
We are flying down. We are staying down because we can't fly back.
So for the 2 fixtures?
I can't remember why we can't fly back.
Southampton airport's closed.
There you go.
Particular time.
It's a good reason.
Good
I knew there was a good reason. So Southampton airport's closed. So I think we're staying in London in preparation then for Chelsea.